Talking all things crypto with Tyrone Ross, CEO and principal 401 Financial. Tyrone, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we jump into Bitcoin, which has been making a comeback after losing some ground earlier this year, I want to talk to you a little bit about Coinbase. They put out their latest numbers yesterday. Stock is under a little bit of pressure right now in the pre-market. What's your take overall on their latest earnings?
Earnings were mixed. I think you see a couple of things that need to be pointed out. One, subscription revenue is up, trading revenue is down. So they're starting to see that they need to stray away from retail demand and retail trading, subscriptions being up, which is good. I think if you want to look at bigger term of what they're trying to do, but the institutional trading, the retail trading is down, which they've lived on. So the earnings were mixed. I think if you're a true crypto hippie like myself, it's cool to see that they've increased their positions in ETH and Bitcoin that they actually have on their balance sheet, on chain, by the way, which is awesome. Base their blockchain that they've created. So Wall Street still hasn't figured out how to value Coinbase. And those of us, again, that are punch-drunk crypto hippies love that.
Interesting. So that's the issue. Is that the issue with, when you compare, for instance, the stock performance of Coinbase versus the performance of Bitcoin year to date? Is it they just don't know how to value it?
No, they just don't know how to value it. I think those of us that are really entrenched in the space get giddy at the fact that we don't really believe there's too many analysts that understands, one, how valuable. I mean, they have their blockchain base is the most valuable L2, right?
Okay.
And the fees that they get from that, some of what they have on their balance sheet in terms of their crypto position, their crypto portfolio, the whole deal. So it's really hard to value the company if you're really not entrenched in the space.
You have to excuse me, what does L2 mean?
Layer 2 blockchain.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. It's like, okay.
Let's get educated
the
along the way.
Crypto hippie here. All right.
You started.
Yes, exactly. This is Crypto 101 for me. But you make a good point about like Wall Street not knowing how to value. Even when I talk to some of the guys here on the floor of the stock exchange, I think because of the institutional adoption that we started to see last year, they become more open to it and believe that you have to own a little bit, but still are a little skeptical about it. But let's talk about the price action that we're seeing in Bitcoin. It's reclaimed that 100,000 and a little bit beyond that this morning. Does that make sense? Does its price performance make sense to you?
I think it does. I think you're still seeing strong flows in the ETFs, right, which seems to be the major driver here. I think there's more regulatory clarity as the days go by of either what's going to happen or what's not going to happen. And this is what I said, right? Bitcoin is a volatile teenager, right? It's 16, 17 years old. There's a lot that has to happen here, right? It's not even at 20 years of track record. It trades like Bitcoin, that's what I always say. So I think what you're seeing now is there's a lot of narratives around why it's at this price, but no one really knows why. Yes, the flows are strong, but there are some people that believe it should be trading at 50,000 and some that should be at 250,000. I try not to look at the price, but look at what's driven there. Hash rate continues to increase, which means the overall strength of the blockchain is the real metric to look at. But I think the price being over this psychological level here is good for traders.
So 100,000 is a psychological level when it comes to Bitcoin. It has been outperforming the S&P 500, and even when you at the beginning of April, you saw what are seen as riskier assets take a leg down on T-Day, Liberation Day, whatever you want to call that day. But Bitcoin made a bigger recovery. Why is that? If it's like, is it viewed as a riskier asset, or is it the story? How do you see it as a digital gold?
Right. So I never used the digital gold narrative. I never liked the safe haven narrative. Again, it's getting boat raced by gold right now, right, which is a real safe haven. I think this is part of where we still have an issue with Bitcoin of what is it? And I think we're still trying to determine that. But is it a safe haven? Yeah, it depends on where your feet are. It's probably not the best safe haven in the United States. We have a lot of different safe havens here. Is it a store of value? Perhaps, right? Is it risky? Absolutely. Is it volatile? Sure. I think you just go with, what a lot of folks have been saying is the fastest horse in the race, right? If you look at any time period, it's performed well. And I think it is a risky asset that needs to be traded and invested as such. But I think the safe haven digital gold narrative just never at least with me, it's just never resonated.
So one thing I've heard from the crypto community, and I feel like it sounds like you're seeking this as well, is more clarity on the regulatory front. What are you hoping for with regard to that? Are you still hoping for more clarity there?
No, as a financial advisor, I think we've gotten all the clarity we really need. I think there's always been clarity there. I think we're clear around what Bitcoin is, what the government thinks it is, how to advise clients on it. So I think we're clear there. So I don't know if there's much regulatory clarity around Bitcoin itself. The actual space, yes. Stablecoin bill, the Genius Act didn't go through yesterday. There still needs to be some, iterations on that and another vote on it. So I think we're all clear on what Bitcoin is, though. I think what's not clear is for a lot on Wall Street and then wealth managers, how do you value it, right?
Okay.
Where does it go, right? What's the right holding for a client to have? Those things change, and I think that's what we're starting to see with more time and research.
I'm curious to know then, what is the right holding? For instance, I just took a look at IBIT. That's the ETF that came out last year. It has regained some ground year to date, up 8% year to date now. What do you make of that? The institutional adoption, does that increase the access, especially when you think about retail clients?
It definitely increases the access. It's the easy button, not only for the client, but advisors to make it easy, right? Again, with clarity, it's registered, they can feel comfortable with it, compliance officers, so on and so forth. So it does make it easier for folks to access. I think longer term, what we're going to start to see is a lot of what is happening in the space now is the Bitcoin strategic reserve and all these other things. What does this mean for actual, what folks say, use cases, right? Beyond that. And again, those of us would argue that there are some holding it as a use case, but I think we're going to see want to see more of that if retail is going to come back in. As you said, it's institutional now. Retail has been burned, right? So we got to get them back in our good graces, get better people leading the space, have really good cogent conversations, and lead with education. Please lead with education.
Okay, lead with education. What do you feel like then most people are uneducated about and need to be, like say the top three things people need to be aware of when it comes to Bitcoin or crypto in general?
Big B, little b. Big B, Bitcoin, right? The actual blockchain is different from the little b, as it's spelled, the actual token. Those two things are different. And I think whenever you see these conversations from really smart people, those things aren't separated, right? I think the Bitcoin blockchain in and of itself, if you study and read it, is a very impressive piece of technology. Second thing is, there are a lot of very, John Hope Bryant, Melody Hobson, some folks that I love but vehemently disagree with in terms of what it means for underserved and black and brown communities. That's something that our communities need to be educated on and understand what is happening here because of what it means to be banked, right? To be able to transfer value in real time, right? That's incredibly important. So that's the second thing.
So you see Bitcoin and crypto as being that?
Yes.
And then third thing, because we've got like 30 seconds left.
Third thing is, I think, just the risk that comes along with holding it, right? I think you have to get to the point where you hold it on your person, and there's a lot of extra risk to come along with that, which again, educating on how to hold it properly and safely. And I think we're getting to the point where you don't, all the keys, public keys, private keys, all you ain't got to worry about.
And not forgetting,
so you got me starting, you give me 30 seconds.
I'm sorry, I apologize. we are under a time crunch. They get in my ear and give me time cues. All right. Thank you, Tyrone.
Absolutely.
That's Tyrone Ross, CEO and a principal 401 Financial.